Good morning, guys. June 6th, 2017. I'm Michael Smith, and spirit is our topic today. Sorry I couldn't make it to yesterday. I had a couple things going on, but we're here today, so that's all that counts and that's all that matters. One of the first few things I want to cover within the conversation of spirit is symbols. I mean, there's a whole lot of concepts to spirit, and technically, this is like round 3 of trying to take these, but I keep getting some sort of interference or something's going on or it didn't record or so like there's something that wasn't right in those videos, so we're here right now. Those are things that you have to take in with spirit. Like you have to understand that everything is happening for a purpose, everything's happening for a cause in every aspect, down to me not even getting here yesterday, to me being here today and having so many hurdles. For whatever reason, there's a higher purpose behind it all. And if you see life that way, then you start to understand that things are a little bit half full. That's one of the outlooks that you end up gaining from it, is that understanding there are no coincidences, there are no just happenings to just work out in your favor or works out in your glum, because I can guarantee you are putting out the energy that you're receiving, whether it be in a good manner, whether it be in a bad manner. And whatever manner is coming, you're putting out that energy is being received and it's being sent back. It's a reciprocating process, just like a mirror. When you step into a mirror, you see what you give. So that's your energetic imprint that you're releasing off into the universe. When you start talking about energy, I mean, it goes into quantum physics, it goes into molecules and atoms and vibrations and waves and particles. And I mean, there's so many different concepts to it, but in the essence, spirit ends up talking about anything with the invisible. So anything that's invisible correlates to spirit. And unfortunately, in the day that we're in, people who don't understand spirit misconstrue it as God or godly, or even to the point of worship. One of the biggest things that we have to understand, that when we're dealing with spirit is just like you and me. They are out there, roaming about, bumping back and forth. There is no worshipness that has to come from it. Like there's no higher level. Just because it's coming from an invisible realm doesn't mean that they have better gifts than you, because if anything, they're only waking you up to the gifts you already have, the gifts that you can make possible, and you're just not choosing to see it. Like in essence, everything that you do see magical around you, in my opinion, you have a big strong focal point to that, what you're seeing, because you had to put it out there in order for it to be seen. So if you experience a big miracle, or you experience a big blessing, or a big anything, even if it's turmoil or heartache or whatever, I mean, heartache's hard to put into that category because people don't go based off of you wishing it out there, but there is the idea of everything has a purpose. So that person going, I mean, if there's anything I can convey in this message, is that that person isn't gone. They've only, in a sense, graduated to another level of being. And we on this realm can't understand that level, just like a two-dimensional object can't know a three-dimensional object. All they see is lines. If you see a square and a triangle from a 3D point of view, right, where we have an upward angle and we can make out the shapes. Those shapes themselves, though, that are on that plane, which is here, all they see is a thickness of a line. They can't see the whole edge. They can't see the square. They can't see the whatever, the triangle, even though that was backwards. But all they see is a thickness and a length of a line. So there's no understanding that full picture. That's one of the truths we have to admit, is that we can't understand the full picture. We have to know that we're here to see, what we can interpret. But just like the 2D to the 3D, the 2D can only interpret what they think it is. They can take the word of that object and say, yeah, I'm a square, yeah, I'm a triangle, and they can just run with it. Well, in a sense, that's what we are in today. Like, we have to take the word of others in order to understand their connection with God, and because we don't have a connection to God. Now, my biggest connection is that it's not one God. Like, and to even believe that it would be one God. Like, don't get me wrong, the ancient principles talk about that primordial source, that creator source that's coming from somewhere, a single point. There is that idea of monality that way. But the duality is that we live in a world of pairs. Um, Mother, father, brother, sister, everything's in pairs. And we have to understand that there's always that positive, negative, hot, cold, warm, soft, or warm, uh, sort of warm, lukewarm, I guess. Warm's a bad example, but you get what I mean. So there's so much going on that we have to understand that there is this force of balance that we have to exist in. This balance is Anubis and his weighing of the feather and the heart. I mean, the heart was the symbol of Ma'at, which was the principle of like the feminine, of good being, of there's 42 principles of Ma'at, which was essentially about being a better individual. It was essentially like the 10 Commandments, but it was about how to be one with the universe and one in our world. And so, or I'm sorry, that was all tied to the feather, not the heart. The heart was the individual being passed away. So Anubis, when you see the imagery of him weighing the scales of a heart and a feather, it's because the heart was supposedly that of the individual who was carrying it, the vessel. You know, how was your heart? How did your heart hold up versus the principles of Ma'at, which was represented by the feather? So when you see that imagery, don't think it's just compared to a feather. There's a whole philosophy behind it. That ancient thinking has actually translated to Christianity. It translated to the secret societies. I mean, everything of what we know has been seeming to be originated from Egypt, but I think it goes further than that, and potentially South America, potentially Antarctica. Like, in my opinion, Antarctica is more closer to our Atlantis than we even realize. And also, in my opinion, that is where the ancient technology comes from, is from that of the civilization that was highly advanced. Now, there is an idea or a conspiracy that Hitler only recovered information. He didn't get told information, he only recovered it from Antarctica. Whether it be the ships, whether it be the information, whatever it may have been, he uncovered it. He didn't get told it. So to believe that there's this co-partnership between him and aliens, now it gets kind of odd there, because there is probably a co-partnership, but it doesn't come in the idea that you're probably thinking. It comes in the idea of the mind. Because Hitler was big on channelers and listening to channelings, and he had a group that he like referenced or referred to a lot of times for his battles, for his wars, for his everything. He referred to this group called started with a V. I can't remember, but this idea is where the whole blonde hair, blue eyes came in, the Aryan nation, the fact that the Aryan was a European nation of blonde and blue eyes, and it was a separate race, and it was pure race, and all these different things. Like, it comes from all these different concepts, but in reality, he was talking to that spirit, the spirit that was there, that is present, that's been there, that the Dead Sea Scrolls call the Archons. I mean, they're interdimensional. What they are, I can't explain it for sure, but there's definitely a presence, an energy, an understanding, a knowing, a consciousness surrounding us, whether it be outside of us or inside of us. Because one thing I can come to realize through my time is that inside my head, things that are going on are actually things that are probably being sent. And I'm receiving it and interpreting it just like you're doing the same. Because the thing that makes me believe that is that sometimes there's some channelings that, you know, and channelings are individuals who are relating supposedly to either aliens or archetypes or whoever may be. Ascended masters, they have different names for them every time, but in reality, they're just reaching out to an energy source. That energy source gets translated to the individual creates whatever they want from it, but the messages they receive are essentially valid. They may be a little misconstrued because, again, you're relying on someone's perception and the way they see the world and what the symbols mean to them, and if they don't construe it right, then you're kind of lost. But if they construe it properly, there's no hurdle. Like, it's understood, because essentially we are consciousness, and it's all one and the same. It's the same thing trying to talk to the same thing. We're a mind inside a mind that's trying to communicate to each other without words. So how does that happen? It happens through symbol. So that's another part of the topic, is that, there's so much more I want to get into. This is going to be a quick video because, I did so much, and obviously it wasn't meant to be heard in that way. So my main thing I need to get across is symbols. If you don't go out there and search for those symbols, if you don't go out and drive for those symbols, it's not going to mean anything to you. You can't know a word and just know what that word is. You have to actually go and look up that word, or someone has to tell you what that word means in order for you to learn it. Symbols are the exact same thing. You can either choose to just see it and not acknowledge it, or you can actually go and look it up. You can ask a question, you can do whatever you need to do, but you figure out that symbol. And that symbol, you have to understand, you have to interpret it like directly, how it relates to you. Don't go further in about, oh, this person says this website says that. First and foremost, when encountering a symbol, of any symbol, because if it's in your mind as a symbol, like, oh, maybe this is a symbol, maybe something's a sign or whatever, because that simple understanding is in there, it's already something. So that's half of the battle, is recognizing those symbols when they come. So when you do recognize it, the other half is actually taking initiative and going and researching those symbols. So if I hadn't researched the symbols I'd have in my past, I wouldn't be here today with you, because I wouldn't have quite the understanding that I've come to the conclusion of, that everything around us is smarter than we can comprehend. And it's up to us to take that in and listen to it. Because when you do look up those symbols, they tie in ways that are just too close for comfort. And sometimes, like, you're like, almost in a sense, like, Big Brother's watching me, because this symbol is jumping out at me, but this symbol came out to me in the real world. So how can it really be Big Brother? Or, that's what makes me think psychosis and people who are schizophrenics, and that's why they're schizophrenic, is because all the energy they're putting out there, they're receiving it, and they feel like something is engaging them. That's the difference, is that they have their belief system so far out there that that shit really occurs. And then it questions the individual, who the hell's doing this? So there's so many factors that come into play, but if you don't take that initiative to go find out that symbol, it's not going to mean anything to you. But the minute you do take initiative, that's when it's going to mean something. That's when it's going to actually do something for you. So there's so many examples I can give. I just want to leave it with something basic and simple right now. This week I had a whole lot of things planned, about 5 different topics, 5 different days. But as I stand here, I know that I can't do it in that form, because there's going to be so much, just like right now, so much discombobulation. There's so much information that's so random and sporadic sometimes, that I have to go into that information in order to make the other parts make sense. Because if I just tell you what I believe, is like, what the hell are you smoking? But if I tell you why I believe the things I believe, say for one, we'll leave it with this, because I did have this in the other video. When pyramids were discovered, it was discovered that they had an energy coming from the top of them. South American pyramids in particular, there's this one in particular pyramid, and I don't know which one, but it was discovered because there was a pile of oranges sitting on top of it. And all the remainder oranges were rotten and no good. This one pile stayed healthy for months. They didn't understand, so when they dug it, they found out that there was a pyramid underneath. There was a man in the 1800s, I don't remember when, but when they were first excavating the Great Pyramid, and they were at the top of it, he let off a champagne bottle, and the metal from the cork actually sent off a spark when he popped it open. So he created and finagled a thing, kind of like Benjamin Franklin, and he devised almost like an electric absorber of sorts with this champagne bottle while he was up there. Now, he was a scientist, so I mean, obviously he knew these things, but that's when it became evident that there was energy on top of the Great Pyramids that's being absorbed. One of the Mayan beliefs within their pyramids is that they're actually receiving cosmic energy. And that cosmic energy is a way to enlighten your mind, or enlighten your soul, or to even activate parts of your mind that you're unaware of, even to the point of like psychic or telekinesis or pyrokinesis. I mean, whatever your mind can imagine. So with pyramids, you have to understand that it's about absorption of energy, almost like a net. And they make them big because they're similar to mountains. Like, if you're an ancient man and you're walking the lands and you come across a mountain and you climb that mountain, like, have you ever not been dizzy on top of a mountain? Have you not got dizzy looking up at the mountain or down from the mountain? Like when I see that, my mind thinks, well, the ancient man must have thought there was something more to it. So they created and mimicked these mountains, and they made man-made mountains. But then when they made these mountains and with created chambers inside of it, and maybe that's even how they knew, is because the caves, that they were going into, understood that there was a higher awareness to be felt, that they were activating parts of themselves previously unaware of. And that essentially could be the gist of the pyramids. It could not be an electrical, power generator. It could not be a tomb. I mean, it very well could be also. This is all speculation. But in the same breath of it, it makes more sense that it had to do with the conscious evolving. So in my opinion, the ancient times of those nature were the pinnacle of the feminine aspect, and we're at the pinnacle of the masculine aspect. That's why our technology is so different. Their technology was more organic, and it was through rocks. And I mean, they found pipes that was made out of like 10% metal, and the other two categories were like organic. So I mean, how the hell do you do that? I mean, they were creating pipes essentially out of more organic material that was actually living versus metal like we do, and they were achieving better output from it. There's so many different things that I want to get into, but as far as spirit goes, there's so much more topic to spirit I'm going to give, like history and whatever. But today it's symbols and looking out those symbols, seeking them out, defining them, creating them, understanding them, knowing that they're there and they're present. That is going to be your first step. And you may already have some symbols. I can guarantee, if you're already keeping aware or paying attention, figure out what those symbols mean. Go look them up and tell me if it doesn't relate, but I bet you it does. So with spirit, part 1 here, June 6th, we'll leave it with symbols, and maybe this whole week will be about spirit, evidently, because that's what spirit's telling me. So good luck. Look forward to hearing from you.